Making another appearance this year from OnePlus is the 10T. Notorious for being the most specced-out version that OnePlus makes, you could say it lives up to the reputation here, coming with a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, a 6.7-inch fluid AMOLED display, a triple camera construction, yet somehow missing the prestigious Hasselblad branding on the back. So, how does it stand against the Pro variant released earlier this year, which was also released pretty much under the radar in most countries? And does it have the right to stand amongst other flagships with a mid-range price tag? Let's find out. This jade green colorway, which was first seen on the Note 2T, still looks more blue than green to our eyes, and it sometimes comes off a little greyish too. But it pulls off the look better in most lighting conditions. Either way, the plastic frame and glass back meshes in nicely with the camera module, while at 204 grams, also weighing a little lighter than Oppo's version of the design, the Find X5 Pro. In some ways, we prefer this iteration as it's equipped with a fluid AMOLED HDR10 Plus flat-edge display, capable of producing over 1 billion colors with a 120Hz refresh rate and 720Hz touch sampling rate for all your doom scrolling or gaming needs, which we'll get into in just a bit. The overall 87.9% screen-to-body ratio does feel slightly tighter than the one found in the Find X5 Pro, but with its flat-edge display, handling this in the hands might justify avoiding accidental touches during intense gaming sessions. Viewing angles are also great and by no means feels any less of a display compared to the LTPO2 displays on both the Find X5 Pro and the OnePlus 10 Pro. So it likely won't be a deal breaker to most, being arguably a wise decision which might have helped keep prices down when it came to developing this phone. While there are still stereo speakers, outputs aren't exactly loud. Thankfully, Bluetooth 5.2 and Dolby Atmos makes the wireless headphone experience just a tad bit more worth your while, having very low latency. There's also options to choose between environment or scenario-specific profiles. These different sound modes make gaming, movies, and music feel more tuned for their respective purposes. For us, we personally found the movie scenario profile to be most balanced and akin to the likes of Apple's spatial audio, providing a 3D sound experience but not quite as 3D as you'd imagine if we're being honest. The OnePlus 10T is equipped with the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 and Adreno 730, 8GB of RAM and options to upgrade to 12GB of RAM, which could help make things feel a little faster. But it doesn't show any signs of feeling slow even with 8GB while having multiple apps open. Even our Geekbench scores manage a score of 1008 single-core and 3478 for multi-core, considerably one of the higher results we've tested and even maxes out on our wildlife tests. Extreme wildlife tests show an overall score of 2781 and averages 16.7 frames per second. Battery consumption and temperature management are also very stable for games such as Call of Duty or Real Racing 3 and should keep you cool throughout. Cameras, on the other hand, comes with a Sony IMX766 1/1.56-inch sensor and consists of a 50MP main camera, 8MP ultra-wide, and 2MP macro camera. Video outputs are quite underwhelming, topping at 4K at 60 frames per second, with higher frame rate options available up to 240 frames per second. Some of our examples here in 4K do tend to shift in color balance and exposure for daylight settings. Other factors such as dynamic range are still good but quickly lose their quality due to lacking in exposure management. Stabilization isn't the best, showing warping effects when walking, but handles decently for those bumpy car rides. But when it comes to image quality alone, we'll let you decide if it's up to your standards. Photos, however, get a solid B+ for retaining colors throughout all three focal lengths and perhaps the most consistent thing these cameras are capable of for photo captures. Despite it not having any Hasselblad branding on the back as it did in the Pro variant, it seems some of the computations done here still have some of its influence, producing very tactile, sharp images and a flattering natural depth of field at a wide aperture of f1.8. Even the 16MP front-facing camera is reasonably up to par for megapixel count and more than enough for your casual selfies. Battery life got us to our a day and a half worth of use with its 4800 mAh capacity, but thankfully it includes a 150W Super VOOC fast charger which will get you from 0 to 100% under just 20 minutes. The OnePlus 10T comes with Android 12, 8GB or 12GB of RAM and storage options of 128GB or 256GB and has a starting price of 3,199 ringgit or 999 Singapore dollars. As for our final thoughts, the 10T feels as though OnePlus might have their identity in the mix here, showing some really promising hardware and software but lacking in areas where it should count. Well, aside from the cheaper price tag, of course. With the Oppo Find X5 Pro coming with a slightly larger screen, way better Hasselblad cameras, and a bigger 5000 mAh battery, all of which was also available in the 10T Pro, it somehow feels like the 10T was left on the back burner. We figure it hopes to appeal to the Southeast Asian market while keeping its Pro variant on the down low, marketing it as its top-tier flagship. Maybe the future of OnePlus is still unknown even for OnePlus themselves. We can only speculate how the path seems unpaved or unimagined. Optimistically, the brand taking a whole new approach could benefit in appealing itself to newer fans, yet there hasn't been any result so far that sticks. In other words, focusing on expansion beyond your current fanbase without appeasing your existing ones first might do more harm than good.